On my way.
Welcome to Knit Together with Kim and Jonna. I'm Jonna.
And I'm Kim.
And we're here today in the beautiful McKinney Knittery in McKinney, Texas. And so this is our home away from home. We're usually filming in Pick Up Every Stitch in Mount Kisco, New York. So hi, Karen and Felicia, we miss you. I miss you. So thank you to Ginger for having us again in her beautiful store.
Yes.
And if you're anywhere in the South, you must make a special trip because the quilting fabric, yarn, it's notions and embroidery and every craft you can imagine, and just a stunning store.
Nice long hours. They're only closed. You're only closed Mondays, right?
No, 7 days a week.
Wow, see? I thought I knew.
Yeah, and it's in a beautiful old space with creaky hardwood floors and just very, very homey. And a beautiful square, downtown McKinney. It's just a beautiful square.
Yeah, last time we filmed here, we walked around a little bit.
Yeah,
So nice.
Anyway, if you're new here, this is a podcast about knitting where we talk about what we've made, what we're working on, what we'd like to make, all kinds of yarn, sometimes crochet, not really, a little embroidery on knitwear. We've
Some
done.
older episodes you talked about sewing.
Oh yeah, I haven't gotten my sewing machine out of its box yet, so no sewing at the moment. But yeah, so mostly about knitting. And we're two friends who met before we even knew that we were knitters. And, discovered our common obsession with knitting. And one day I said, we should have a podcast.
Yeah.
And Kim made it happen. So that's how we got here.
Exactly.
A little backstory.
And please go back and start at episode 1 if you're like me and just watch all of them. You can watch all of the amateur mistakes we make. We still make them all.
Oh, yes.
Actually, I'm just going to mention it quickly. Last episode, episode 29, besides the fact that we had a camera mishap during filming, you have to go back to watch it. It's kind of funny. We decided not to retake it. We decided not to refilm. We said, we're leaving it. The viewers can have a laugh.
Yep.
And then the edit was a nightmare.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't realize recently.
You thought you weren't going to be able to use it.
Yeah.
For other reasons, camera setting reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, we've recently been filming on an iPhone instead of our Lumix G7. I'm going to get back to the Lumix G7, but it's just easier for travel not to have to bring that bigger camera. And I didn't realize my iPhone was set to HDR filming, and Final Cut Pro had a real issue with that. So.
And other podcasters make it look so easy. They just set up their iPhone and no wireless mics or anything. So anyway, thanks for bearing with us.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Thanks for taking film class so that we can be better podcasters.
Yes, I'm taking a film class now, if you don't know. And it's been fun, but it's definitely a little overwhelming. Yeah.
So Kim flew in on Friday?
Yes.
Friday morning. And I picked her up at the airport, and what did we do that day? We mostly knit.
We went and grabbed lunch.
No, I just dragged her around to all the places I didn't want to go to by myself. We got pansies, we went to lunch, we went to a new Starbucks I'd never been to, and I took her to the gym. We both belong to the same gym, and they have multiple locations around the country, but she had never been to this one, so we went there.
And it's huge and beautiful. It looks like a country club.
Yeah, it's in Westlake, Texas.
Yeah.
Because everything's bigger in Texas, including the flags.
They just have more space to build. In New York, you're very confined to these little tiny.
Well, and you can only accommodate so many people who can fit in the parking lot. So if you can't build a big parking lot, it doesn't make sense to have a big indoor space. Yeah. So, and then we went home.
Yeah.
And then we knit.
Yes.
Yes, because I was on a mission to finish the sweater I'm wearing, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then yesterday was our new favorite thing. It was so fun. That was so fun.
This is so fun.
This is so fun. We took my grandson on a nature hike on a trail that we'd never been on.
Oh, it was so.
It was so fun.
I can't stop myself from saying it.
I know.
When we were
We're getting
Rhinebeck,
T-shirts. It's okay.
all of a sudden, Jonna said, "That's a Kimism," and I said, "What's a Kimism?" This is so fun.
This is so fun.
I really didn't realize.
We literally said it like 50 times yesterday, unprovoked.
Yeah, and unplanned. It's not like
Yeah.
I was trying to do it. It just
Yeah.
comes out of my mouth.
So this trail we were on is a walking trail, but also a mountain bike trail. So it was very, at times, you know, jumping off the side of the trail
Bike.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, uncouth words coming out of my mouth the first time. Just a shock. Yeah. So anyway, we had a great
there's
time.
rules
Maybe
for-
we'll put in a picture.
Yeah, there's rules for pedestrians or walkers, you know, what did it say? Move to the right. But then you're like, if the bike is coming from in front of me, the right is that side. If the bike is behind me, like, or if I'm facing, I don't know, it's just.
Well, I just got off the road as quickly as possible
Yeah.
because we had my 4-year-old grandson with
But
us.
there's no rule for them. They don't have to say, on your left,
Right. Or ring their little bell.
Ring a bell.
No,
or they
it was a just every man for himself kind of thing.
And they're riding fast.
Fast.
Yeah.
So, and we brought Teddy, and then we took Teddy to get a pup cup. Maybe you can put in some pup cup footage.
Oh my
It's his new favorite
goodness.
thing. Like Teddy thinks that he knows Starbucks, and he'll go up to the counter and just wait for his pup cup. It's
I had
hilarious.
never heard of a pup cup until yesterday.
Yeah, she thought it was a Texas thing. I'm like, no, it's a Starbucks thing. So, anyway,
Do you know what a pup cup is? You have to tell them what it is. People might not know.
Starbucks is it's an international coffee chain.
yeah.
And so they're complimentary. You cannot order them on the app, and it's just one of the little itty bitty like
an
espresso cup with whipped cream in it.
And dogs like it.
Dogs like it, but my grandchildren also like pup cups. So anyway, thank you, Starbucks.
Yes,
Not sponsored.
exactly.
Did you know that now all alternative milks are no upcharge? So I'm an
At
oat milk
Starbucks?
person. So if you didn't know, now you know as of November 7th. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And if you just want to skip ahead to the knitting, I always put timestamps in the show notes, so you can skip ahead. But
And
we
the
can
show
just-
notes are under the video. There's a little down arrow, and it's the description box, and that's where the show notes are. People always message me and ask where it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about what we're wearing?
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I will go first. So most knitters will know what this is. I am wearing my first Soldotna, and I'm so excited. I absolutely love it. It's by Caitlin Hunter, aka Boyland Knitworks, and Jonna owns 2. This is one of those things where I met her, and then I was already a knitter, but I only knit at home. I didn't take my knitting with me. I didn't know there was a knitting community because I've been knitting for over 30 years. When that's what you did, you just knit at home. And then Jonna, at some point, a year after we met, started to learn how to knit, and I had no idea. And then I was knitting one day. We were meeting at Whole Foods near me, and she walks in, and that was the year that all 3 of my children had a child. So I was in, I call it baby blanket hell, because I make each of them a baby blanket. Anyway.
A big baby blanket,
Big.
not a small crib. No, I mean, not a small stroller size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was knitting, and she said, "You knit? I'm learning how to knit." Anyway, within a year, I think, she had made 2 Soldotnas. I kid you not. I mean,
I think I made one in, I want to say 4 days.
it's crazy.
It's a little too small. It's tiny. So it was a small sweater to
Right.
begin with.
And
But
also-
I was obsessed with the color work, and I was highly motivated, and
Yeah.
I knit probably for 4 days straight.
It's,
So it is possible.
they're just stunning. And at that time, I had never knit myself a garment, remember? So she's a new knitter, and she's knitting garment after garment after, and not easy garments. Like,
Did you even know about Ravelry?
I think I knew, but I didn't really use it. So anyway, I've always wanted to make a Soldotna. And then a few years ago, we met Kristen of Wool and Vine Yarns. She lives in New York in Westchester County. And she had created these beautiful yarns and made her own Soldotna. And these are the yarns. So a better question than what I'm wearing is, why did we just switch sides?
Oh my goodness.
So it's really funny, but the way Jonna's hair parts, it's just better for her to sit on that side. And for some, even all morning, I was I can tell you when I'm fixing my hair, I don't even care what this side looks like. I just look in the mirror and make sure, because I'm always looking at you.
Oh, right.
So I did that all morning.
Yeah.
And then we get here and we set up we didn't even realize. And then all of a sudden I was just about to talk about my Soldotna and you said,
we're in the wrong place. We have to switch. And she's like, is it okay if we just stay? I'm like, no, we have to switch.
And it's true though, because when your face is this way,
right,
your hair is
my hair
hanging.
is covered and
yeah.
Yeah, I'm letting my hair grow out, by the way.
Are
Isn't
you?
that just a cycle of people with long hair? They're like, oh, all of a sudden they're just over it. And I like it, but I'm definitely growing it out. So I have a haircut appointment that I'm canceling.
And honestly, I love short hair, but sometimes I think, oh, I think I want to have it a little bit longer, and I try, and I just can't. I literally wake up in the morning, and it's standing on end. Yeah. So go with it, you know. Why spend more time? Okay.
All right.
So
Soldotna.
This is my Soldotna, and I absolutely love it. And I might keep the other part in before we switch places where I talk about. Okay. So the yarn is Wollensvine yarns, and the colors are Revenge of the... Oh, wait, sorry. Sorry. Okay. I made it out of Wollensvine yarns by Kristen Lehrer, and it's Smitten Decay in the colors Grim, Revenge of the Harpsichord, Deadly Nightshade, and Courtesan. And I absolutely love it. The yarn is so soft and so easy to knit with. Squishy, yummy, delicious. It's 80% superwash merino. I typically don't knit with superwash, but yarn dyers love superwash because it really
takes color
well. And I have to say, there's this thought that it grows. This did not really grow at all.
I know she uses really high quality yarn.
Yeah. And it's 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. Wow. And it's light and airy, even though there's all these strands inside, and I absolutely love it. I highly recommend Wollensvine's Smitten Decay. You've used it before, right?
I have.
Yeah.
And it's got great stitch definition, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really just...
It's plump and bouncy,
Yeah.
so yeah, the stitches aren't disappearing behind each other.
No.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. It's my new favorite sweater. I say that about all my new sweaters. So let me tell you about the details. So the suggested needle is a US 5 and 3, and I of course swatched. And I swatched in the round, which I think I decided that's the last time I'm going to swatch in the round because my gauge really does not change. And although for color work it's much easier for stranded color work to swatch in the round as far as the knitting goes. I ended up needing to use a US 9 and 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's a big change. So from a US 5 to a US 9. But that's how I got gauge. I made a size 5. And also in my swatch, I might insert a picture because I took a picture. I did part of the color work basically from these little lines down through these arrows. And after I did it using the exact same color placement as Kristen in hers, you can go check out her version, it's stunning. I realized that these are small batch dye lots, that my Courtesan and my Revenge of the Harpsichord didn't really have enough contrast. There's these sections above and below the arrows that are single row stripes, and you really couldn't see them. And actually, I think in hers, I can't remember now. But anyway, I needed to go up a needle size anyway, so I lengthened my swatch and did that section over again, and just each new color, I thought, what color would go well here? And so I completely changed. My color A, color B, color C, color D do not stay consistent the whole time. I completely changed them. If you want to know what I did, you can let me know. I'll send you an email with line by line what colors I used. But I just, I think Kristen starts, her main color is Revenge of the Harpsichord. I think I told her, she asked me ahead of time, I wanted Grim, the dark color, to be my main color. So that's where my color starts. And then if that's the case, these arrows would not be that color. And I really loved how they popped when they were the dark color. And then with the dark color on the body, also at the bottom, they're supposed to be, what do you call those things? Those little, they look like a castle. That shape.
It's like dental molding.
Right.
Architecturally, but I don't know
knitting
it is
wise
with
what
knitting,
it's called.
yeah.
It looks like the top of
I think
a
of
castle,
dental molding.
those little squares.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be that color work at the bottom, but I also wanted to end with the main color, so I left that off, which I could have told you later. But anyway, so I had the yarn for over 2 years.
And she sells kits.
Yep.
Occasionally, not all the time.
And that's what I did. I asked her when she was going to make her next kit, and you have to be ready to buy it right away. And so I did, and I bought extra main color because I was considering maybe making it long sleeve. Anyway. Eventually, 2 years later, this was one of the sweaters in my queue of what should Kim knit next sweaters, and I finally made it. So I cast on with a tubular cast on. I can't remember if she calls for that.
I don't think so,
I don't think
because
so.
I didn't know how to do a tubular cast on back then.
Yeah.
So
I did that, and I cast on with a US 6, and then because I realized with my tubular cast on, I don't know if everybody does this, I have to do it on a smaller size needle.
Because it's loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
It can look untidy.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I switched to the US 7, which was the needle I was using for ribbing, and then I did the rib, and then I knit the short rows. There's short rows in the back, just following my size 5. Then I started the color work, and I started to panic, because one of the problems I think with some of your Soldotnas is the strands aren't really long enough, right? It isn't stretchy.
And mine?
Didn't you
I mean,
say
the
that?
whole sweater is now too small.
Right, right. I couldn't remember if it was because your strands weren't maybe long enough to...
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay.
But just the way the pattern is written, the neck hole is small.
Yeah.
And then there's the short rows, and then you get kind of a weird funnel neck. So I told you, I think that I cast on the number of stitches after the first increase.
Right, you told me that.
And started my ribbing.
Yeah. I think because you make smaller sizes, you have more of that problem. I think with mine, I don't. I usually have to cast on, it's a bigger size anyway.
Okay.
So I didn't really have that. But I started to panic that my strands, it wouldn't be stretchy and my strands would be too short. So I was like overcompensating and like knitting extra loose. And so I thought, oh, it's fine. It'll block out, as we always say. And so I keep knitting. I join at the underarms and I start knitting the body. And shortly, I showed Jonna once. I held it up, or I took a picture, and we were talking about it. And you said something about the lice, the little spots here in the body. I guess they call them lice. Arnie and Carlos always say it sounds kind of weird because it's a bug, but so they're just these little spots of color, and I don't do this. Well, Jonna said, I think they're supposed to be 2 rows deep, and I said, really? On my chart, I held up my chart. On my chart, they're just one little lice in the middle of stockinette. And she said, did you print in grayscale? And I said, well, yeah, I think my color was out. I think my color ink was out. So she looks it up, and sure enough, the gray color of my, like there's 4 colors, 2 of them, you couldn't tell the difference on my grayscale.
So there was no contrast.
No contrast.
Right.
So I literally thought it was one, knit 3, 1 color, knit 3, 1 color. And then only 1 row deep. And she said, no, I think it's 2.
But you were like, oh, it's okay, it's fine.
Yeah,
it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It wasn't perfect, but it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
So I keep knitting, and then I think, it feels really big. So I laid it out, and I measured at the underarms. And the size I'm making, I can't remember now what size it was supposed to be. Let's see. It's supposed to be a 48, the chest bust finished. It was like over 60.
Wow. Yikes.
It's supposed to have, what, 1 to 4 inches of positive ease. And I just gasped for a second. And I had done all the short rows that were suggested for the back of the neck. And it had this bump. There were so many short rows, it had this bump. And I remember Jonna once calling that a funnel neck or something.
Well, if you look at some of there must be, 12,000 projects on
there's so
Ravelry
many.
or something. But a lot of them have the funnel neck situation. So it's kind of a topic of
And when
discussion.
I put it on, when it stretches over my shoulders, you
Right.
couldn't really see it. So I was going to leave it. I was going to leave the lice. I was just going to leave it. Also, I didn't really love the color changes all the way down the center back. And because it's ferile and these single row stripes, it's really, you notice the jog a lot. There were little things that I would have done differently. Well, when I found out it was over 60 inches at the underarms, I just took a deep breath I think I texted you, and I said, I have to rip it all the way back.
And that was like 3 strikes and you're out. Like, you know, the lice, okay. And then the center seam, and then it just was too big.
But I knew I would not wear it if
right.
It's not meant to be oversized. I didn't intend for it to be oversized. So a lot of our viewers love it when we rip things out. I did it again. I ripped all the way back to the ribbing, the neck ribbing. And so I made these 4 major changes the second time through. Like I said, instead of doing all the short rows that they wanted, I only did 2 short rows. And you told me that a lot of people completely leave the short rows out. I looked up a jogless fair isle technique by Patty Lyons, and it isn't perfect. She did, I taught it to myself and I did it. I would need to do it, I think it got better later. There's a tension thing. You have to be careful with your tension at the jog. But I like it much better, and I'm glad I tried it. I do think I have a picture of the back of the sweater I'll insert. I knitted the lice correctly. And then after you mentioned that, I remember once looking at your Soldotna and noticing that they were 2 rows deep and thinking, that looks so elegant. It's like a modern take on lice. And especially hers were the lighter color on top and the darker on the bottom. It almost gave it like a 3-dimensional shadow effect. So that's what I did on mine. I did my lighter color on the top and the darker color, the green, on the bottom. So I love it so much. So let me remind you, if your printer is out of color ink, do not print your colorwork chart. A chart with symbols, big deal.
Right.
But if it's the colors, do not print it in grayscale. Bad idea. And then I also tightened up my gauge. I just didn't worry about it. I know what my gauge is. I did a swatch, and now I knew from my previous sweater. I really think up to about right above the arrows, my gauge was still spot on. And then by the time I got to the arrows on the first version, that's when I was like panicking, especially on the body. I didn't want the body to not be stretchy. Anyway.
Because it's a circular yoke.
Yes.
So it just grows wider and wider. And then how many stitches did you cast on underneath the arms?
I did end up doing I think it's 15 for my size.
Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't want this to be too small and tight, and it's not. It's absolutely perfect. This might be one of my best fitting sweaters.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And like I said, I completely changed the color placement. Other modifications, I made it longer. In the original, I think you only do 5 repeats of the lice. You know, they're honeycombed, so you do, it's like maybe a 6-row repeat. So you're 5, and it's only supposed to be, let's see, like 6 3/4 inches long. It's super cropped.
Mine's super cropped.
The Soldotna Crop. See, I forgot to write crop because mine is not cropped. So I did 10 chart repeats instead of 5. And also I did a little bit more rib tiny bit more rib on the sleeve. I think it was supposed to be a little shorter, but I did 9 rows to match my ribbing on the bottom. And like I said, I left off the bottom color work, and I'm so happy. I didn't want like a different color cutting across my midsection. I think it's gorgeous on other people, but I didn't want it. So it's an absolute original. I mean, everybody's is, right? It's one thing I love about knitting. Nobody else owns my version of the sweater. I love that. So that's it. I absolutely love it. My finished measurements, the bust is 47 inches, and I wanted, it suggested 48.
Oh, perfect.
So I was pretty darn close. I probably could have stretched it. I try not to stretch my knits.
Right.
Because they're going to want to go back to what they are. So when I block, I try not to stretch. The only thing I'll do is straighten out the hem on the bottom. And my length is 10.5 inches from the underarm. And I absolutely love it. And I bought this cute little, you can't really see it, but I bought, well, maybe I never stand up when we're here. I bought a cute little terracotta quince Jonna dress. I call it a Jonna dress. Because I thought it just went so well with this. It's a little tank top, and I love it.
And it's 80 degrees outside and kind of humid and misty,
Yeah.
so she's much more appropriately dressed for the weather.
And if it's too warm, I can rip off my sweater.
Yeah, exactly, because you have something on underneath
tank top
it.
dress
And you did
underneath.
the tubular bind off.
I did
on
do
the
tubular
sleeves
bind
and
off on the
hem.
sleeves and the hem.
Really pretty.
Yeah, so I love it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So thank you, Caitlin, for the amazing design. And if people, I tend to not knit what's new or in at the moment. I fall in love with it, I buy it, but we know that I have a queue. and I tend to not stick things in. Sometimes I do, but if you haven't knit a Soldotna, you definitely should. It's so fun. It is a quick knit.
Yeah, very potato chippy.
Yeah. You can't wait to get to the next row.
Right.
Yeah. Nice. So what are you wearing?
I am wearing my newly finished Woodlark sweater.
Like literally last night.
Like literally last night at 12:45 a.m. I think I bound off the last stitch, sewed the collar down, and then went to bed. So anyway, it was nice that I'm like a flea on a hot rock. My mother used to say that. I don't know if other people's parents say that.
I've never heard
You're
that
like
before.
a flea on a hot rock. I don't sit still very much.
I realize that. This time is the first time I really realized that.
Yeah. I'm always, I need to switch the laundry. Or, whatever.
Because what she said before I got here is, can we just knit the whole time so I can finish the sweater?
Yes.
But you can't sit still. You're watering the flowers.
I know.
You're emptying the dishwasher.
My brain's never off, Anyway, so it was nice. We did knit most of the day yesterday and watched silly Christmas movies, which I'm a huge fan of. The dumber the better. I don't even care. The last one I watched last night, a snowman comes to life as a real man. Yeah, it was
kind of silly.
It was very silly, but it was very watchable too. So anyway, this is the Woodlark sweater by Lene Holme Samsøe, and it is knit in Knitting for Olive merino and soft silk mohair in the colors. This is all I have left. In fact, there was an emergency yarn ordering online and an emergency trip to Dallas to pick up more yarn because the mailman didn't come pick up the package. So, and I was bound and determined to finish it for this podcast. This is Knitting for Olive merino in mushroom clay, and this is the soft silk mohair in clay rose. And I picked this up last month when we were filming at Knit Dallas, which is another beautiful store in southeast, like Dallas proper.
Because we're a little north of Dallas right now, right? Downtown.
And they do sell Knitting for Olive at Pick Up Every Stitch and at Knit Dallas. So yeah, I did come across 2 knots, whatever. I actually, there was a knot maybe in the second to the last row of the neck. I was like, I am not cutting the yarn. I'm just going to knit so that the knot is in the back of the work. Yep. And I knew I was going to fold over the collar, and I just left the knot, honestly. So sometimes I do that unless it's convenient and it's easy to switch it out and I've caught it ahead of time. So anyway, yeah, so I actually made the smallest size. There are only 4 sizes, but it goes from like XXS to 4XL.
Like each size is really 2 sizes.
It's really 2 sizes.
Yeah,
so maybe it's like 8 sizes. Right. So, I mean, there's a lot of variation depending on how much ease you want. The pattern suggested 10 to 14 inches of positive ease, which is quite a lot. But I did want, if you look on Instagram and you see the pictures that she posts, the model is very small, wearing this ginormous, very oversized sweater with huge sleeves, and I loved the look of that. But I also wanted to be a little practical, so I went with I was thinking maybe my bust is 35, so the smallest size, the finished bust, was 44. So that was my goal. And my gauge was on with the recommended needle, which was a US 6 for the body of the sweater. I love the ribbing on this sweater. So basically this whole sweater, except for the yoke, is 2x2 rib that creates this herringbone pattern, and the chart just jogs you over. And honestly, even though I've knit the whole sweater, I have no idea how this pattern works. Like, it was almost magical. Like, I don't even know how you can just move the 2x2 rib over and it just creates this. I did use stitch markers though in between the pattern repeats so that if I was off, I knew immediately. The chart was only 16 rounds around, so that's good. And it's in chunks of 4. So honestly, if you're a new knitter and you want to do something textured, but you don't want to do cables or anything too crazy, I felt like this pattern was really beginner friendly. There is some shaping in the shoulder, so you cast on in the back, knit the back top of the yoke, do some shoulder shaping, and then you pick up at the shoulders and knit the left front and the right front, join them together in the round, and then underneath the arms, and everything's in the round from there. And the sleeves are nice. There are 2 sleeve versions This is the one without the decreases. There are no increases. I think in the last episode I may have mentioned that there possibly were increases, but there aren't. But there is a sleeve version with decreases. But I just loved the big drapey sleeves. But it's nice because you can use a 16-inch circular the whole way. And so it's very easy to knit in the round. What else can I say? So it did block out a little bit smaller. It's not quite 44 inches. It's probably 42, 43 inches, but there's still quite a bit of ease for me. And yeah, so I blocked most of it, except for I blocked like this much of it, not this sleeve. And then I ran to Dallas, got more yarn. And so the sweater was drying while I was driving to Dallas. Got the yarn, finished the sleeve, and then I just steam blocked the sleeve this morning. But the ribbing is just a continuation of the last 4 charts of the pattern.
So you just stop moving.
You just stop moving. You stop jogging, and it just creates this beautiful finish.
Love it.
Oh my goodness. And it's the same on the hem, the same ribbing on the hem. So.
And you bound off in pattern using?
I did. I bound off in pattern. I did use, so the ribbing is knit on a US 4. I used a US 6 to bind off, just, you know, be on the safe side. And then the only modification I made was last night at midnight while I was knitting the collar. You pick up stitches, you do a 1x1 rib, and the pattern suggests that you fold the collar and then actually do a 3-needle bind off and knit it to the inside. But the way you pick up the stitches, it's not like a cast on edge. So you'd be kind of like, oh, okay, well, is this the stitch? Is that the stitch? And then I thought, oh, that's just going to be like permanent. You know, once I do that, it's going to be a done deal. So I remembered that my Oslo sweater by Petiteknit also has the same type of collar. So I looked at those directions, and she just says bind off really loosely, which I did, like super, like it would have been ruffly had it had been, you know, any other edge. And then I tucked it on the inside, and I just loosely whip stitched maybe every 4 stitches. And I'm super pleased with it. I don't think I would not have.
Because you can easily slip it over your head.
Easily slip it over my head. It was easy to do. It's also easy to undo in case I wasn't happy with it. So that would be my modification.
And tell them how gorgeous this looks where you picked up your stitches in the front.
Oh, well, I'm getting really good at picking up stitches. So it was something that Petiteknit said, though, that kind of was the turning point for me, and also being conscious of the shaping. So if you're picking up cast on stitches 1 for 1, you want to stick your needle in between the columns of knits and be consistent about that. Don't stick it in between the columns of a knit and then in the very next knit and then skip to, you know, be really consistent about picking up stitches in between the columns of knits. And so that your knit columns then just line up perfectly with the existing knit columns.
Because this was knit top down.
Yes.
So your stitches are
pointing
down,
right.
So in between, the loops are pointing up. So you're picking up between there, and so they just go seamlessly into the collar.
And it looks amazing.
I'll get a picture of the neckline. It's stunning.
And so, you know, I was picking up cast on stitches, but then also there's shaping here. So then, you know, how do you pick up stitches on a diagonal? And then there was no shaping in the front. So, you know, I really am conscious about where I'm picking up stitches and trying to make it, you know, as consistent as possible. So yeah, I'm pleased. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm very comfortable, which is always like, once you put a sweater on and you're comfortable, like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's how I feel in this one.
This was worth it. Yeah. Sometimes you put on a sweater and you're like, ooh, I don't know.
We both kind of went like this at the same time.
It's actually very soft too. I just have a camisole, sleeveless camisole underneath, and so this is next to skin. It's not itching around my neck at all. I think there may be a slight oversight in the pattern, which is very trivial, absolutely trivial. When you cast on the sleeves, there is one main purl stitch, column that divides the chart. So you start the chart with a purl stitch that is not in the chart. So when I went to do the 2x2 ribbing, I had an odd number of stitches, and I was like, oh, you know, flummoxed just for a moment, but then I just purled 2 together at the end of the row. And it doesn't say that in the pattern, so experienced knitters are going to know what to do, but you know, I'm always...
And it doesn't have that down the side seams? Interesting.
I'm always second guessing myself. And yeah, so anyway, that was the things the pattern doesn't tell you. Yes, but not a big deal.
Okay.
All right.
I love it.
Thank you. Me too.
It's really beautiful.
Do you have any other FOs?
I do. I have another FO, believe it or not.
She has just been a knitting machine lately.
I have. But honestly, I haven't been feeling well.
That's true. So she's had a lot of downtime.
Chronic issues. So when I'm home, I just knit.
Yeah.
So this is another garment from my queue. And this is the Coffee Bean Cardigan by Elizabeth Smith Knits. And it's knit in, I'm looking at your notes.
Kelborn
Woolen Scout in gray heather and scarlet heather. It's 100% wool. I actually purchased this yarn my husband and I like to get away up north in New York and so, or Canada. So on the way home, I'm saying used to, it makes me sad. Very often, most times stop at Perfect Blend Yarn and Tea Shop in Saugerties, New York, but she is retiring. And I think is closing the shop in January, right? And maybe end of December. Mary.
Cakepalooza is in Saugerties,
yes.
And I didn't get to stop at the shop, so I'm bummed.
Yeah.
So I will not ever know.
Yeah. So I have many, many projects with yarn from Perfect Blend, but this is Kilbourne Woolens. It's definitely more of a woolly wool, and I found this pattern even before I bought the pattern. I was looking for a simple cardigan pattern that I could just throw on with jeans, and I found the pattern, didn't buy the yarn right away, but then my friend Elise was with us this one time we went, and she wanted to knit a cardigan, so we both bought the same yarn. She bought the same gray but with green, and she knit hers right away, and then I loved it. One thing I will mention is the neck, something she noticed about the neck, and I noticed it with mine, but I finally knit mine 2 years later, and I'm in love with it. It's definitely not a firm, dense knit. The gauge is very kind of loose for what I'm used to. So let me I always put my details on the other side of my paper. Again, it's suggested US 8 or 7, and I swatched and I used a 10 and a 9. And again, I made a size 5. I used the long tail cast on. It's knit from the top down. Yes. So I used a long tail cast on, and it's 2x2 rib. So I did not, there are ways to do tubular cast on and make it into 2x2 rib, but I don't think it doesn't have the same effect as a 1x1 rib. So I don't really like doing that. So I just used a long tail cast on, and honestly, I did kind of remember that Elise's neck was kind of open and wide. So I didn't mind if maybe the cast on edge was a little less stretchy. So I did a long tail cast on. Anyway, then you do the neck rib, the raglan shaping, the body, the bottom rib. It's very straightforward. And I bound off knitwise. It says to bind off in pattern. I don't really love that either. Yours is gorgeous. That's why I asked you yesterday. I just bound off knitwise using a US 9, yeah, the one I was working with. And I did the button bands as is, the sleeves as is. I was a little, let's see. So there really isn't any neck shaping in it. I was a little worried about that. It's like I said, it's a very basic pattern. And when I did when I started the button bands, as I was knitting them, they were looking like they were going to be really wide, and they are. They're pretty wide. It's definitely like a eye catcher. That's like part of the sweater. And I was so tempted to make them narrower, but I thought, nope, I'm just going to do it as is. And then like I said, I knit the sleeves. I did everything as is. And again, I bound off knitwise, and it's nice and stretchy. I absolutely love it. So then I picked out the buttons. I have a big stash. One time I bought this big Ziploc bag full of just a mix of neutral color buttons. So I was kind of laying buttons on there, wondering which ones, if I could use any. And there were some that were okay, but I had to go to Pick Up Every Stitch because they don't have a big button selection, but I always find they're well curated. I always find something. And there were red buttons that I loved, but then I saw these metal kind of, is it filigree? No, what is it? What would you call that? Not filigree, but
I don't know.
Textured. They look very Scandinavian.
Very, and she showed, we were FaceTiming. I was like, oh, I like those.
Yeah, I really love them.
Super Scandi.
Super Scandi.
Especially the red and the gray too.
Yeah, so I picked those and I absolutely love it. But I have to say, the first time I tried it on, I blocked it and it sat in my room. I was so tempted to wear it, but I didn't want to wrinkle it up before we filmed. And I tried it on at your house, and sure enough, the neck is definitely loosey-goosey.
We were going to look for some elastic for you.
So I might get a little piece of elastic and thread it through the top of the neckline, and just so it doesn't keep opening. Now I'm even wishing that I had done the cast on with a smaller needle size. You know, live and learn, but it's lovely, and like I said, it's not a super dense knit. I ended up, though, I think my gauge, I did the swatch months ago. So I think, oh, let me fold it more neatly. My finished body measurements, so it was supposed to be 47.25, and mine's 50. So my gauge it grew. But I do think, too, I was surprised. This did not grow with wet blocking. That, as soon as I lifted it out of the water, I was like, oh, it's like an octopus. And it was just so
heavy,
stretchy. And I think I probably stretched it out because I wasn't careful enough pulling it out of the water. So it definitely grew.
The gauge is much looser on that than it is on this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And this whole garment probably weighs a fraction of that garment.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the finished chest bust on my coffee bean cardigan is 50 inches, which is totally fine. The length is 11.5. It suggests 11. And the sleeves are 18.5, and it was supposed to come out 18.5. So I just absolutely love it. And if you want a really simple color work, it's just changing. I did just keep the yarns
You carried
live,
it up.
and carried them up. I was a little worried that the carry up, because it's up one of the fronts, obviously. I was worried that it would be too tight. Again, I always worry that my little float things are going to be too tight, but nope, it was perfectly fine. I kept checking it to make sure it was as stretchy as the other side, and it was. So I keep saying it. I love it. I hope I don't knit a sweater that I don't love.
I know.
You know? I feel like a broken record, though. I just really love
well, I have a sweater that I knit that I don't love that we're going to talk about here in a little bit.
Oh, we are? I can't remember. Yeah. Okay. All right, so that's it for my finished objects.
And that's it.
Nice.
Okay. On to whips.
Yep.
Okay.
Who's next?
My turn, I guess.
I think you have more whips.
As I'm like fiddling with this mohair that has gotten wrapped around my other yarn. So I don't know why. I was like, I just want something bulky, big needles in the round. And
I know why, because it's quick.
Yeah, it's just instant gratification. So I cast on
Give me the yarns and I'll untangle them.
Holiday Slipover Junior by Petiteknit, and this is for my granddaughter. And I had the yarn in stash. This is Snuff Nug. I'm holding it double. And then I had this left over from that beautiful wrapped like ballerina sweater I made for her.
That you made that ballerina
I cannot remember who that is by.
Wasn't that Danny Sunshine? No.
No.
I can't remember.
So I had that left over, and I think it's Long Yarns Luxe or
Mohair Luxe Lame maybe or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah, so I texted Kim, I'm like, have you ever knit anything with size 15 needles, US 15? Like, I wasn't even sure I had them, but they're in the...
They're in the set.
Yeah, they're in the Chow Goose set. And so I take the 15s out and put them on the cable and start doing my stuff. And I have to say, I picked up stitches beautifully here. You can't even tell.
You can't even tell. Gorgeous.
Super simple. You know, you just cast on stitches on the back. You pick up stitches for the front, and then you join in the round with some shaping. And just a super easy knit. It's got a split hem. And I thought, oh, I'll be done with this in a couple days. Well, so I texted you. I said, my stitches are so tight on the left needle. Like I I am like struggling to knit this thing.
And you're not a tight knitter.
No. And I'm like, okay, if this is what it's like to be a tight knitter, you know?
And to knit with 15 needles.
Oh, it was
you thought it was the needles. Like,
so not pleasurable. I thought maybe the needles, I knew they weren't dirty.
well, because the change from the cable width, the cable diameter to the needle diameter is much
huge.
bigger. So you thought maybe that's what it was.
And I thought, well, maybe I'm tense. It's been a tense week, which it has. But come to find out, as all of my needles fell out of the Chappaqua case and I had to fit them back in, that I was actually knitting on the right side with a US 15. And no, I was knitting with a US 13 on the right side, actually knitting the stitches, trying to shove them on a US 15 on the left side. So, yeah. Now we're all set. Everything's going.
And you left it. You can't tell.
I did. I left it. So the gauge is going to be a little off. So, you know, whatever. No biggie.
You can't really tell one row is tighter than the next.
She's super tiny. She's tall, but she's super tiny. So I think it's just something she can throw over her dance clothes. And it won't be too hot for Texas. It's sleeveless. So just a little holiday slipover.
But one thing I always say about Texas is it might be hot outside, but that means
freezing
there's more
inside.
air conditioning inside. So sometimes you go inside, you have to have a sweater in your bag. You're freezing.
do. I have a sweater in my car all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do knit when you're in Texas.
I know. Whole Foods is one of the coldest places I've ever.
Starbucks can be really cold too. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's a fun work in progress. It'll be done quickly. I guess I'll give it to her for Christmas maybe.
Love it.
So it's in her favorite color.
And I untangled the mohair.
And evidently mine too. Everything is pink.
Everything
through my pink.
Everything is
my
mink,
mauvey,
a combination of mauve.
My mauvey pink face.
Yeah. Love it.
Oh, and my earrings. From Julie Asselin.
Beautiful.
Match my sweater perfectly.
I just noticed that. Yeah.
So Julie Asselin also sells jewelry on her website.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And you got to talk to her about it at
I know.
Palooza when we saw her.
When I realized who she was.
Well, I had met her before at Vogue Knit Live the previous January, and you had never met her in person. Okay, so it's me for Works in Progress. Mm-hmm. What do I have? I guess I'll just go down the list. So I actually started another Oslo hat. I don't know if you remember.
I'm sort of jealous. I'm having like Oslo hat
envy.
But I've got so many things to knit. So
yeah. So I already knew what I was going to cast on after my coffee bean cardigan, but I also wanted something. It would take a little more focus. I'll explain it in a little bit. But I wanted something super simple that I could knit on the plane if I didn't want to pull out a big project. So I had promised my German class last winter. I measured all their heads during class. You know, like, wie groß ist dein Kopf? And I'm like measuring all their, was ist dein Lieblingsfarbe? And things like that. And so I got all the information. And I knit the one for the teacher immediately with leftover yarn from my champagne cardigan. And I thought I had blue. I had knit my husband a blue Oslo hat in Pasquale Tibetan and loved it. Loved the gauge, loved the feel of it. He's bald, he shaves his head, so it's really soft against the skin. Doesn't pill. And I thought I had blue, and I was looking for it, and I realized I actually had given it to Elise because she wanted something simple to knit. So she's knitting an Oslo hat with it. But I went to pick up every stitch, and I bought, I'll talk about it later.
A bunch of it, because I got the receipt in our emails. Like, what did you buy? Which normally doesn't happen. But
yeah. But I bought this blue, which I haven't used before. I think it doesn't have a name, right? Where is it? I didn't even write it down. I was going to talk a lot about it because we've knit so many. But this is for Raina. Hi, Raina. Ich stricke deine Mütze. So I think I'm saying those correctly. So yeah, I just finished the part where you knit the folded, you knit the double brim together. So I'm starting the body of the hat, and it's really easy. Keeping the stitch markers in because eventually I place stitch markers and then I won't have to. I have them every 10 stitches, and then I put stitch markers on the cast on edge every 10 stitches, so when you have to knit it together, and the cast on ones are light bulb, and I just light bulb them to my needle so it's already folded up.
Nice.
All the way around, and then I just...
Genius.
Yeah.
Like that.
So I left these because later I have to place markers for the decreases, and then I'll already know, oh, there's 10 stitches between. I don't have to recount everything. I'm lazy. I do things once and don't want to do it again.
Oh my goodness, last night. So if I were her, I would have I did use my Twice Sheared Sheep, which we are affiliates. There is an affiliate link down below, row counter. And it was great because this was a 16 row repeat. And so I could set it down. I never had to worry about which row I was on. But if I was smart like him, I would have kept track of how many chart repeats I did for each sleeve.
At the top of the chart or at the bottom, I would write a
Hash
1
marks,
and a circle. No, I would actually do 1 and a circle, 2 and a circle, 3 and a circle. And I would cross it off. I would kind of guesstimate how many repeats, chart repeats I'm going to have to do, and as I do each one, I would cross it off. And then when I do the other sleeve, I cross it the other way, so it's an X. I just love it.
I didn't know how many chart repeats I was supposed to do on the second sleeve, and there was measuring involved and pattern counting, and so I was like,
and second guessing.
Yeah, if I have been smart and quote unquote lazy, I would have kept track and I wouldn't be doing all this extra work. So I made extra work for myself, which you try to avoid by taking good notes.
But we have a different workflow, as I've learned now in the video world. They call it workflow. And I have my own workflow, even though I'm a beginner in this class, but they notice now, oh, that's your workflow. They suggest workflow. They suggest that you should have a way you do things, but they don't want to change it if you already have something that works, and you have your workflow.
And I just zigzag all over the house, and I get everything done, but all in bits and pieces.
Yeah, and it's fine. You're you, and I'm me, and neither is right or wrong. So
funny.
Yeah, but anyway. So wait, we were talking about.
Oh, my.
Are you talking about anything?
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this whip. So this was a whip in the last episode. This is the Adamson vest by Ray Yamamuro for Woolfolk. And I saw it, and it's beautiful. I cast on the size 3. My gauge was a little off, so I went down to a size 1 where you join in the round. And you had actually did me a favor and knit the twisted rib on a US 4, and I could get it on, but barely. And it just didn't have this oversized look that it did on the model. The yarn is not forgiving in any form or fashion.
It's not stretchy at all. There's no stretch.
Beautiful to look at, but there's absolutely no stretch. It's 70% merino. It's Woolfolk 2, which is spelled T-A-G-E. 70% merino and 30% mohair. And it has absolutely no stretch. In fact, it is so sticky. This ball is almost felted. It was just, in the bottom of my bag, and it's almost felted. And it definitely has, thin and thick parts. I can't say it was a pleasure to knit with. That said, it's beautiful. It's very luxurious. So this is not the kind of yarn where you're going to frog something. Nope, not going to happen. So I redid the ribbing. I went down to a size 4, but I knit it fairly loosely. I bound off loosely. It's still extremely rigid. Not a lot of give.
The stitches do not move within, like even if you wanted to stretch it when you're blocking it, it won't. The stitches, once you knit them, they're stuck
It's like Velcro. It's like knitting with Velcro.
But it's lovely. I mean, it's beautiful. Lovely yarn. You just have to know that when you're knitting with it.
It is beautiful. It's in my new favorite color. So I still need to do the ribbing around the neck and the armholes. So I thought, you know what? I can wear it tucked in, and then I don't have to worry about, feeling self-conscious about the ribbing.
Or over a little dress with a tucked-in waist.
As long as it doesn't cinch, too much. So I can try it tucked in. My oldest daughter said that she would take it off my hands if I didn't want it, and she does have a little bit smaller waist than I do. So, but I am much more short-waisted than she is, so it might not even be long enough.
But it's a quick knit, and now you know.
It
and
is.
What size needles was it?
It was fairly large needles. Did I write it down? Oh, no, 6. But I would definitely knit this again in different yarn.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. It's beautiful yarn, but it wasn't my favorite to work with.
But you also know now. So if you did knit it, you would just know and maybe not go down 2 sizes.
Oh, no, I would knit it in kind of generous. I love the eyelet detail. It's really, really beautiful. And I bought a black blouse to wear underneath it, so it really shows.
I love the back too. That's what I love, because it's not just on the front.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I'll finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now it's kind of a love-hate situation going on, so.
It's beautiful.
That's my only other whip. And I fully intended to cast on the Siri cardigan also by Lene, Holme Samsøe, and I did swatch for it. And I'm going to use the Pearl Soho Good Wool and hold it double. And it's in this beautiful winter grass color. Oh, it's really, really beautiful yarn. If you haven't tried it, it's extremely affordable. Comes in very large skeins. It smells super sheepy. It's very soft. I would say it's rustic, but it's super soft. And so the thing about this Siri cardigan is that all the sizes start with the same number of stitches. So there's no way I'm going to get gauged with this yarn. No way on those needles and get a fabric that I'm going to like. So I'm just going to, at the suggestion of Karen/Carmen, hi, from Spain, she made the cardigan also. So she said, just cast on and just knit until it's big enough to fit your shoulders. So that's what I'll do. So I'm really, really excited to cast that on. So now that this is finished,
yay,
I'm allowing myself to do that. So that will soon be a work in progress. And that is, the suggested needle is US 9. So I heard it's a pretty quick knit. And you know that I've never knit moss stitch before in my life?
Really?
No. I didn't even know, like seed stitch is like alternating purls and knits every row. Moss stitch is alternating purls and knits every 2 rows.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes. So now I know all about moss stitch.
I always thought they were the same thing. That's interesting.
I looked it up in my trusty Vogue knitting book.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And you also want to finish your Oslo sweater before you go to Germany, right?
I do. I think that really beautiful cobalt blue would be really beautiful Christmas sweater.
Yeah.
But I'll talk about another Christmas cast on at the end. Yes, I'm going to Berlin, Dresden, and Leipzig.
Yep, perfect.
She's trying to help me with my German
Perfekt.
accent. I do not speak German.
Wie heißt du? Ich heiße
Ich heiße
Jonna.
Jonna. Ich heiße Jonna. And I speak French, sort of.
She does speak French. We were at a restaurant last night and the waiter spoke French.
His name was Lancelot. Hi.
Hi, Lancelot. We didn't even tell him who we are.
He works at Rustico. We can never remember the name of the restaurant. Anyway, the restaurant we ate at last night. He was so charming and so interesting.
And she was totally speaking French with him.
Oh, it was really sweet. So his mom was French, and I asked if they speak French at home, and he said, well, kind of like franglais, but yeah, he spoke French very, very well. And so anyway, he said there's a fairly large French-speaking community here. So I need to find them because conversation is, no one else in my family speaks French. So.
And by the time you come back from Germany,
French,
you'll speak German, I'm sure.
Oh. So it's fun. Anyway, where were we? Your next whip.
Yes. So another one of the sweaters in my queue. Was it in my official queue? I can't remember. Or was it added after?
I think it was added after.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to go with.
I was on the North Fork of Long Island. There's a yarn shop there called North Fork Fiber Arts. And the first time I went, it was still named the previous owner's name, but a new owner had purchased it. I can't even remember what it was called. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And I can't remember if I bought the yarn then or the next time I went, because I went back after she redid the shop and rebranded and reopened. And I've always wanted to knit a Felix cardigan because you made the Felix pullover, and you say it's one of your favorite sweaters.
It fits really well.
Best fitting sweater.
Yeah, it's very comfortable.
Yeah, and another quick knit.
It has a mistake in it.
It does. Why do we always say that?
I don't know. I made a mistake in the yarn overs, but I was a really new knitter.
You would never know.
No, it's black.
Yeah.
And it's let lopey, so it's very fuzzy.
But you were consistent. You did them all the same?
No.
Oh,
I just missed one.
Oh.
Yeah.
I never noticed. Anyway, maybe I'll cut that part out. We don't need to know that she made a mistake. So I was there, and I always buy yarn to match a pattern, and I think they had a Felix there. And so I bought this. I wanted just a navy blue cardigan because I have my lighter blue Mayak sparkle cardigan by Hohi, but the sleeves are a little narrower. It's harder to wear over things. It's a little more fitted, but I wanted something a little more with more room in it, more positive ease. So I bought this Barocco Mercado, which is, I have it written over there, 100% Peruvian Highland wool. And it's soft.
Yeah.
And
but it's definitely woolly, I think.
Yeah. And then I even bought buttons that day because I thought, I'm here, and they had buttons, and I bought these beautiful blue buttons. I have them in my bag, but I'm not going to dig them out. But that went in my queue. behind everything else, but I know it's a quick knit. So after some things that took, well, nothing is taking long these days, but I just wanted, I guess I've just been in the mood for quick knits. I have some colorwork things. I have a cable thing that's in the queue, but I'm just not in the mood for cables and thinking that hard. But then in the spring, I was at Pick Up Every Stitch for the Needles at the Ready podcast trunk show for their yarn, and I bought this gorgeous Achilles DK in the color Rhubarb, and then I bought the Uncommon Thread Divine Lace in the color Peony to hold together to make another Felix cardigan. So, guess what I'm doing? Yes, I am. Well, I swatched for both of them, and I was hoping I would end up with the same needle size, and it turns out, I don't even think I wrote this down. It was suggested a US maybe 10 and 9. Yes, and I went up to a 10.2, a 10.5, and then a 10.75, and I got really pretty much the same gauge with both yarns. So, guess what I'm doing, everybody? I'm knitting 2 Felix cardigans with 2 different yarns on the same needle at the same time. I'm so excited.
Of course she is.
Yeah.
Is anyone surprised? No.
So I cast them on, and then there are short rows. So then I did realize that I needed to do the short rows on the first one first, because you leave stitches on the needle, so you can't. I didn't want to be slipping them. So
How pretty that is.
Did all of the short rows on the blue, and then I did the first knit row of the next section, and then I did all of the short rows on the pink up to the same row, and then I purled across, and here I go. 2 sweaters at the exact same time. I'm so excited, and I love the fabrics. They feel completely different, and I do think that the blue one will be slightly roomier, but I love them. And I am going to, even though many patterns, things the pattern doesn't tell you, is usually the pattern will say, you know, knit the fronts and the back, or if you're doing it in the round, you're knitting the whole thing, and then you do the sleeves next, and then the bands. But with an open neckline like this, because you don't cast on the neckband, you start below the neckband, you knit that on separately. It's going to be really open, so when I try it on, I'm not going to know how long to make the sleeves, because the neckband
will be so wide.
Yes, and it will pull in when I do the neckband. So I'm going to do the button bands and the neckbands, and also at the same time. Like, I'll pick up the stitches along one front band on one sweater and the other one on the same needle, and do them both at the same time, so I don't have to remember. I'm already doing the sweater, so just do it again. The same thing, and same thing with the neckbands. I'll pick them up, and then I will have to do the sleeves separately. I just do not want to knit. People do 2 sleeves in the round at the same time.
I know. Kate.
On the same sweater.
Yeah. Kate from the Knitting Posse.
Wow, I don't know.
Has a tutorial, I believe.
Really? Maybe I'll watch it and see. It would be like knitting 2 socks, 2 at a time in the round. I don't know. I would have to think about it. But I'm thinking I'll do the sleeves separately. But yeah, so 2 sweaters for not the price of one, for the price of 2, but just getting them done at the same time. Because a lot of times I don't want to knit the same thing again.
Right.
Except an Oslo hat. I'm done, but I already had the yarn. So now, anyway, that's it.
And it's a pattern by Amy Christophers.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Sorry. Felix Cardigan by Amy Christophers.
I don't know. Christophers, not sure.
Yeah, so.
And it has this beautiful eyelet detail in the raglan.
That's the increases. That's the raglan shaping.
The yarn overs create these holes that is very,
I'll talk more about it later when I do more on it. But yeah, that's it.
Alrighty. So I think we're done with whips.
Well, my only other whip is a sock, but we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, acquisitions.
Yes, I'm just going to do it quickly. I mentioned before that I bought Pasquale Tibetan to knit the Oslo. Well, I don't have it in my hand, but the Oslo hat. I also bought a few different colors so that when I take it to my German class next time, they can choose, because they told me their favorite colors, and some of them were like, you choose. No. So I'm just going to bring these few colors. Maybe I bought 5 different colors and let them choose.
So is it 1 skein of yarn per hat?
No, actually, I'm thinking I can get it 2 out of it, but I bought an extra just in case.
Okay.
Because eventually, if I have all these extras, I can knit a striped Oslo hat. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. That's my acquisition.
Okay. So I do have an acquisition. In fact, it came from you picked up some stuff at Pick Up Every Stitch for me. I bought some stuff at Knit Dallas, and I had some stuff in stash already. So my acquisitions is sort of in combination with my favorite thing. My favorite thing this week is a new podcast, and I was subscribed already, but like it hadn't jumped up in my feed. So my dad and I used to share a YouTube login, and so all of his sailing videos and motorcycle videos and all the things he subscribed to were all mixed up with all my knitting stuff. And so I did, it wasn't too sad, but I did go through and remove the subscriptions to all of his. So now I'm getting more of my knitting feed. So that's how I came across those twins who knit. And they caught my eye because one of them is knitting the same holiday sweater that I saw on, I guess I must have seen it on Instagram is where I saw it. So the sweater is called Augustins. No, it's called Northern Augustins. Did you write it down?
I just thought it was Augustins number 6.
I know, I think it's Northern Augustins number 6.
Okay. Well,
by Anne-Sophie Velling.
It'll be correct in the captions.
We'll figure it out.
We were doing this very late last night.
It's called Northern. Yeah. So my favorite thing is a new podcast, new to me, not a new podcast, Those Twins Who Knit. And one of them is making the holiday sweater that I just thought, you know, it's very overtly Christmassy. Let's just say that. However, the motif is small, so it doesn't scream Christmas, you know? There's a little candy cane motif. So there's 5 contrast colors, and then I chose...
we'll insert a picture of her yarn.
Yeah, my main color. I have to say it's probably not like my color on my color wheel. It's probably not the most flattering color, but it looks like gingerbread to me, and I thought that that was appropriate, and I thought the color was beautiful. So I got that I got some Santa's Garn.
That's
Sunday.
Burnt sugar.
Burnt sugar. And then the Lamana Premia Mohair in curry. And it's almost glows. It almost looks gold. And then I'm using Knitting for Olive Merino for the contrast color. So there's a cream, a red, a green, a brown, and a baby blue. I just loved the color combinations.
It's very
love
elegant.
the motif. It's got this same similar type of wide folded collar. I think it's going to be fun. So I'm anxious to cast that on too. So my acquisitions and favorite things meshed up together.
Yeah, and while you were knitting that, we were sitting upstairs in her little sitting area, and we were watching Those Twins Who Knit, and they're adorable.
I know. They're from Kansas City, and
we were wondering if Tara knew them, right?
I know.
Because we have a viewer
named Tara.
Tara.
Yeah, who has 4 beautiful daughters of her own who knit.
And we were lamenting, wouldn't it be nice to have
our daughters knit? So our daughters know how to knit, but they don't. They're just busy taking care of kids. So.
Yes.
But yeah, Those Twins Who Knit. One is maybe an accountant.
They're not twins with each other. They're both twins from different families, aren't they?
No, they're twins with each other. Because it was cute. They went and did their bio, and they're like, well, obviously it's the same because our birthday is this day. No, they're twins.
Are they?
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't listening in that moment. Sorry.
They do a lot of sewing and knitting. Both, you know, super creative, beautiful. So she usually starts at episode number 1 and watches them through consecutively. I look at the grid and I see the thumbnails, and I choose the episodes based on the thumbnails and the sweaters I want to see them talk about. So, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's new to me. I've only watched like an episode and a half or 2 episodes. So, yeah.
But they're really sweet.
Yeah, really sweet.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So my favorite thing is something that we really fully intended to talk about in episode 29.
But with all the snafus with technology, it slipped our mind.
Yeah, filming in a new location, you know, early in the morning. We had to check out of the Airbnb that day, and then the camera moving. It was a lot, and we just got so distracted that we forgot. But
we're not too late.
Exactly, never too late. My favorite thing is Socks for Sam, and it's an initiative started by a knitter from Pick Up Every Stitch. She's a school teacher named Cody. Hi, Cody. And it's funny because I've seen him at Pick Up Every Stitch, and then 2 days later I'll be at Westport Yarns and he's there. It's really funny. But I think he emailed us, and we got to actually talk to him
in person
at
Road to Rhinebeck.
Yeah, and actually at Rhinebeck we met him on the hill. So I'll insert a picture of us with Cody. And he started this initiative. He has a student, an 8th grader, Sam, in Connecticut, who has a very rare disease called vanishing white matter disease. And it's usually diagnosed before the age of 7, and there are less than 300 known cases worldwide. It's progressive, debilitating, and universally has a terminal prognosis. There's no treatment or cure, and the life expectancy is only 5 to 10 years after diagnosis. And Cody had written, despite his challenges, Sam is the happiest kid you could ever meet. We'll insert a picture. For this initiative, they made a little a picture of him, and so you can see he's a very happy kid. He is simply amazing and actively participates in our school community. Every year he has a role in the school musical and lights up the stage. He's a big soccer fan. His favorite team is Chelsea. He has a loud and vibrant fashion sense that inspired a fundraiser called Mismatched Sock Day. He loves to wear mismatched socks. And this fundraiser will benefit the Vanishing White Matter Disease Family Foundation. And since the fiber arts community has a thing for socks, and you love knitting socks, I definitely don't, but for Sam, I cast on a sock. And by the way, if you're not a sock knitter, or you haven't knit socks yet and you want to try it, this is your perfect opportunity to just knit one sock, right? You don't have to knit a pair.
Nope.
And you shouldn't knit a pair. Knit one sock.
And it doesn't have to fit Sam.
Right.
It can be any sock of any size.
It doesn't have to be a boy sock.
It can be a shorty, it can be a long sock.
Yeah.
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 It doesn't have to be a boy sock or a girl sock. Just
right. So some of Sam's teachers who are knitters thought it would be a great opportunity for a viral awareness campaign, and hashtag Socks for Sam was born. And you can raise awareness by knitting a sock using the Socks for Sam hashtag, and also tagging at Knit Socks for Sam on Instagram and other social media. And if you mail them, we're going to say, if our viewers want to do this, mail us a sock. So knit a sock, mail us a sock to our P.O. box.
which is in the show notes below.
Yes. And we then, because we see Cody, we will give him the socks. But if you mail them to us, you'll be entered in a giveaway for us as well. And maybe one giveaway, maybe more, I'm not really sure. We got new pins. What are they made of? I forgot what that's called.
I like enamel pins.
Enamel pins with our logo. So maybe we'll do a pin, maybe we'll do, so if you hashtag and hashtag us as well, show Kim and Jonna, our hashtag we used to use all the time, hashtag show Kim and A-N-D Jonna. Maybe we'll do an Instagram giveaway, one pin, and maybe we'll do a Ravelry group, okay? And we'll give a pin away in there, but we'll choose one from everything we get mailed to us, and we'll give them a pin and some sock yarn, okay? So mail us a sock, one sock, any size, any style. Even if you have one that you already knit, you can mail us one that you have that you already knit. And then we'll give them to Cody. These donated socks will be sold ahead of Sam's Mismatched Sock Day, which will be in April, so you have time. And the money will benefit the Vanishing White Matter Families Foundation. On Mismatched Sock Day, we all should wear mismatched socks to show solidarity with Sam. I'm getting chills because it's just so neat. And as conversation starters. On this final day, then you'll also, because we'll give your sock to them, to Cody, you'll be entered in their drawings. They expect to have some smaller drawings and some larger. They have donations from individuals and large companies. And yeah, so I think that's basically it. But we're really excited about that. And as I said, I am knitting a sock. I asked Jonna, do you have some scrap sock yarn? And she had knit some socks for her niece with this
Yarn Love.
Yarn Love yarn. And then she had some black for contrasting cuffs, heels, and toes. I don't knit socks a lot, so I'm definitely stumbling a little. And I'm using the Summerlee Design Co. School of Sock, like basic, the I'm So Basic sock, but that's what I'm using. And I'm doing the smallest size, doesn't have to be big.
Nope.
And probably shorter. Leg.
And speaking of Summerlee Design Co., the designer of the I'm So Basic, the I'm So Basic sock. She lives in Oklahoma, so not too far from here, and I know that she's been in the store for a book signing or something.
In here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I didn't live here at the time, so I missed that, sadly. But I do know that one of her favorite sock yarns just made its way into McKinney Knittery, and this is all they have been able to acquire, Coats & Co. So Summerlee designs some of her favorite sock yarn, and so they were in these little mini bundles, which would make beautiful striped socks.
Maybe we can buy one of those for the price.
Yeah, I saw this on Ginger's Instagram, on the McKinney Knittery Instagram, and I was like, oh, okay. You know, I didn't have plans to buy anything, but, you know, I have to make an exception.
Yeah.
And then I spoke about this yarn before because I bought some last time we filmed, I think. So I'm a sucker for self-striping sock yarn, and this is sock yarn by Night Owl Fibers, and she was having a trunk show here, and we met her. I met her, and these are two of her Christmas colorways, Vintage Christmas, and this one's called Pink Christmas 2023. So this one comes with a mini skein. And there were several others there in the basket, and then there's some other non-Christmassy colorways also. But love this sock yarn. In fact, I cast on a red, white, and blue sock for election night, which I quickly set down and haven't picked back up. But stunning red, white, and blue colorway, just really intense colors.
I can insert a picture, and you're gonna maybe knit that for Socks for Sam, right?
Yeah, and I have one called, I think it might be called Hobbit's Christmas, but anyway, very, very beautiful. So if you're in the market for sock yarn, there's plenty of sock yarn available. I have to say that the McKinney Knittery website is excellent. It's easy to order, it's very well organized, so they have a really nice online shop. So go check it out.
Great.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Oh my goodness.
Can you believe it?
No. Well, they're just about to open the store for classes, so we're going to say goodbye, and thank you for joining us. Like, subscribe, and comment below. Tell us if you intend to knit a sock for Sam. Tell us what you're going to do. And
definitely follow Socks for Sam on Instagram if you're on Instagram.
Yeah, and I'm also curious about what people are knitting for the holidays. So if anybody's knitting a fun Christmas sweater, put it in the comments below.
Right, this will air Friday, December 6th, as long as there's no editing snafu.
Right.
So it will already be in the middle of starting December. And actually, we're planning on doing Vlogmas this year. We can't promise every day. So Vlogmas basically is posting, a lot during December about just our daily doings, not necessarily always knitting. Jonna will be in Germany at some Christmas markets. But that Friday, December 6th, there will be no Vlogmas. This will be the video. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye. And Kristen, I love these yarns.
Oh my gosh. I'm on the wrong side.
What?
I always sit there.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Can we
We're on the wrong side.
Can we stay like this?
No. Oh my gosh, we're on the wrong side.
Really?
No, we'll just switch for now. Oh, we have coffee and everything.
That's okay, we can switch.
No, you know
But
why? Because my hair is parted on the side.
Okay, well, we can switch.
And
can we leave the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay,
totally.
Okay, we're gonna switch sides.
Oh my gosh,
How
how
did
funny
we
was
do
that?
that?
See, at every single time, it's like, wait, I'm on the wrong side.
Well, this is an easy fix.
It's like something's wrong.
It's actually better to have my thing on that side.
Oh, right.
I think. Doesn't
I
it
think-
feel better?
Yeah, it
looks
does feel better.
Feels better.
See, we learned something new. Oh, but you know what? Our mics are now facing.
Oh, we have to turn our mics.
Yes, because I gave you my mic.
Okay, switch our mics. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Still recording. Okay. So funny. I can't remember what we're doing.
Oh, work some other FOs? You have no. Oh, yeah, you have other FOs.
I do have another FO.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Can we take a break so I can have a drink of water?
Yep.
Keep me warm at night.